Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, to my to the nominees, congratulations. We obviously need a quorum, and we need to move forward with these cases that have been languishing for years. And we've got a lot of experience between Mr. Levitt having been general counsel and both of you having had experience dealing with the issues that would come before the board. My first question was going to be on the backlog because I wanted you to say what you told me on our phone call, and you pretty much said it now. And I do support the notion of the short form orders and the alternative dispute resolutions, and I would hope that would help to resolve some of these 3,000 plus pending cases quickly. So I would just say that I would support what you're saying today and what you told me on the phone. On whistleblower protections, we have a strong interest, as you know, in making sure people feel comfortable coming forward and ensuring that there are adequate protections for them. The MSPB has a role to play in this. The last time there was a study on the barriers to federal employees making disclosures and being whistleblowers was 2011. And my question for you would be, do you think it's time to re-examine the barriers to federal employees making disclosures? What recommendations do you have? And we'll start with Mr. Levitt, because you've got a lot of experience with whistleblower protection laws, and in your testimony you talked about this quite a bit and your passion for it. What's the most common reason people don't step up, and is it time to do another study on the barriers? And in general, what is the role that you see as a member of the board in dealing with whistleblowers?
Thank you, Ranking Member Portman. I want to make sure I get kind of all three parts of the question, but I think first off, I absolutely think that it would be a great time for another study. MSPB has actually just been in the process of developing a new research agenda for its research arm, and so that's one of the things that will be presented to an incoming board is just a list of all those ideas, and so that's absolutely one that, to me, is always relevant. In terms of barriers generally, this is an area of the law where there have been a number of legal updates. A really big was in 2012 with the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act, but there have been pretty regular updates since then. And so, from my perspective, one of the biggest barriers isn't necessarily the law, but it's just the culture that exists in many agencies. And so if agencies don't take even little disclosures seriously, I think it makes it really hard to tell someone else if they see their coworker railroaded to say, yeah, there's really something important that you need to bring to the public's attention, but you're going to be safe doing it. It's just, that's not credible in some places. And so I think really, again, promoting that culture, that's one of the things that was one of the purposes in the Senate Whistleblower Protection Caucus being created. But I think anybody that cares about these things, just really actively, regularly touting the importance of whistleblowers is really key to helping federal employees and federal managers know, okay, people are serious about this. They really care about respecting these things and creating these kind of open environments. In terms of the role for the members on the board, there certainly is, I think, an important one, and just as cases come through, making sure that the law is applied evenly and fairly. Again, there's pretty robust law in this area, but Congress has had as one of its main purposes in passing so many updates to the law over the years, clarifying, because there was some sense that maybe administrative judges or even in the federal courts weren't fully understanding the intent behind the laws or what they fully were trying to accomplish. And so, certainly as a member and for any member of the board, that, taking those laws, applying them fairly, and just making sure that the tools that are there to protect whistleblowers are used fairly, I think is really an important role that the board can fulfill to help send that message across government and help create that culture.
Well, thank you. You answered all three questions thoroughly. Any other comments on whistleblowers? Ms. Harris or Mr. Limon?
Yes, if I may, Senator Portman, thank you. I think I agree with everything that Tristan has said. He's exactly right. One of the studies I read said that the biggest barrier for whistleblowers coming forward is that they think that nothing will happen, nothing will change. So I think promoting a culture and training managers and senior staff to understand what they need to do when complaints come in is really, really important. The only thing I would add to what Tristan said is that I think getting the board back in business, getting a quorum back, is going to be a really important tool in protecting whistleblowers. We'll be able to adjudicate the cases. We'll be able to get requests for disciplinary and corrective action from the Office of Special Counsel in whistleblower matters. We'll be able to grant stays of personnel actions when the Office of Special Counsel seeks them, when whistleblowers are under attack for, imminent personnel adverse actions against them.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ranking Member Portman, nothing too much to add to that, but I do acknowledge the shifting landscape around whistleblowers, as you identified. And since the last study did not happen since 2011, a lot has happened. So doing a study on this to help educate managers, employees, HR professionals, I think it would be highly valuable for the board to consider and to do. And to go to Mr. Levitt's kind of cautionary tale about culture, a lot of it is about culture. Where can people go? Where can people feel safe to highlight these concerns, and where in the organization is best to do that? And that's where I think the training and reestablishing and improving our culture can help. Thank you.
I said in my opening statement that this is a quasi-judicial agency charged with protecting the federal merit systems against partisan, political, or other prohibited personnel practices. So this question, Ms. Harris, is for you, and I know you're expecting this question since we talked about it quite a bit, but given that role of the board, particularly with regard to protecting people against partisan political practices in hiring and personnel matters, I'm concerned about your background as a partisan, and particularly looking at some of your tweets. They are often hostile and very critical of Republicans and conservative viewpoints. You accuse Republicans of suppressing votes. You express strong opposition to not just the appointment of Amy Coney Barrett, but attacking the Girl Scouts for sharing a post highlighting the 5 women appointed to the Supreme Court simply because the post included Amy Coney Barrett. You called Republican Governor Larry Hogan cynical and cowardly for his vote in the 2020 election. And my question to you is, in light of those partisan statements and the approach that you have taken in the past, I'd like to know, how can people in the federal system feel comfortable that they're going to be fairly heard and fairly treated?
Thank you, Senator. I agree with you. It's absolutely important that all coming before the board understand they will get a fair, objective determination on the merits. I don't see myself as particularly partisan. I respect your opinion on that, but that's not how I see myself in a professional capacity or really a personal capacity.
I just say it's not my opinion. I'm just reading from the tweet.
Yes, no,
and I can read from more.
No, I understand. I understand completely, and that's what I'd like to address. The tone I took in a few instances on Twitter, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't reflect the day-to-day me, who I am as a professional and in my personal capacity. I believe in respect. I try to teach my daughter to be respectful, and I try to do so myself. I've represented Democrats, Republicans, people who have no idea what their party is. I represented federal agencies under, I think, every administration for the past 20 years. And my personal opinions, I'm very well practiced at putting them aside and advocating for my clients in the most zealous manner that I can to, for their benefit. If you asked my clients, the MSPB, AJs, administrative judges before whom I practiced, federal court judges, my opposing counsel, they would tell you that I'm fair, I'm objective, and I do my best. I've really, I want to commit to you, you won't hear that kind of language from me in my job going forward, and it's not something that I would do. And I commit to working with the Senate and my fellow board members in a bipartisan spirit of cooperation. I've spent my career opposing discrimination, and it's just simply repugnant to me that I would discriminate against anyone based on political affiliation. It's not something that comes before the board. The board doesn't ask parties what their political affiliation is, and in fact, it's one of the prohibited personnel practices. Political coercion or deciding personnel matters based on political partisanship is not allowed. So I believe that as I have put my personal opinions aside as an advocate, I can do the same as an adjudicator. We're trained as lawyers to do that, and I really don't see that I'll have a problem in doing so. With respect to the specific tweets, I think two that you mentioned were retweets of others' words. And I did it, so I don't want to back away from retweeting them, but I've learned a valuable lesson about retweeting others who've used words that I wouldn't have personally chosen, and I think I'm never going to retweet anybody ever again. So that said, I think the comments that you referred to, I don't believe, I think they were overbroad in their characterization of those particular issues, and that's not how I feel. So I do regret not having been more respectful and nuanced in my own tweets and in my poor judgment of retweeting others. And I certainly want to do better going forward, and I will do better forward. I mean, as I said, I probably will never use Twitter again anyway, but I won't be tweeting personal opinions like that going forward. So I hope that reassures you, Senator. I'm really committed to doing this job well, and I believe doing it well means to do it according to the rule of law and not according to personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. My time is way expired, but I wanted to hear your response, and it's about people being treated fairly. That's what the focus is, so thank you.
Thank you, Ranking Member Portman. Senator Langford.